field there, a 46-yarder. Notable hole. That'll be about
Hi.
13-yard attempt. Waiting for
Sorry.
Here it is. Set down. The kick is up.
I'm just listening to a weird record here, but I've been checking through the different YouTube channels, different collectors, vinyl collectors mainly, showing off their collections and talking about their records. I find it very interesting, and also many of these threads that are so interesting to follow, and many interesting ideas for threads. And since I have a couple of days when I don't have to work now, I thought well, let's try to answer some of these threads. So I'm going to start with a thread here. I found it yesterday and I thought, well, what a good idea for a thread. This vinyl collecting thread is made for me. It was Jeff, or glowing00cabbage's, as he's called. I just found him here on YouTube. He has many interesting records and makes lots of interesting videos. He started a thread in which we're supposed to show our wacky records, our really odd records, and I thought, well, that thread is like made for me, since I've got lots of really odd stuff. Maybe not always odd in a good way, but so I went down to the shelves and picked out a small pile here to show you. First of all, the thing I was playing when you started watching this video was a LP about the Miami Dolphins, the American football team, or as you call it in USA, football team. It's an exciting play-by-play action highlights of the Miami Dolphins 1971 AFC Championship season, narrated by Rick Weaver on the Fleetwood label. So it's from 1972. And this is a very odd record to find in Sweden, because first of all, nobody really knows that much about American football, and it's not that big sport here, so this wasn't available in the shops in Sweden at the time, I can assure you that. I don't know that much. I know some about American football. I know the rules, and I know some players, but the only Miami Dolphin player I can name is Dan Marino, and that was some time before, since he stopped playing. The first theme in this pile of weird, wacky and odd records is a sports theme, which is a bit odd and wacky, especially since I'm not that much of a sports fan. But like most people here, strange light there. Like most people here in Sweden, I find ice hockey very interesting, and we have lots of stars in the NHL and so on. I have here an LP called The Esposito Story. It was released by the Continental Recordings Incorporated in the early 1970s, I would believe. It's a folded out cover, and it's both about Phil Esposito, the most hated Canadian hockey player in Sweden, because he called us chicken Swedes for some strange reason, and the goalkeeper Tony Esposito, narrated by Don Earl. Quite weird. And then we have another Fleetwood produced album called NHL 50 years. So this, well, NHL started in 1917, so I thought this would be from 1967, but apparently it's from 1972, at least according to what I found on the internet about this record, so I'm not sure how they counted there. It starts with a couple of boys screaming, "I wanna be Bobby Orr now, I wanna be Bobby Orr, I wanna be Bobby Orr." So Bobby Orr, the great back legend of the time. It's very interesting. I like NHL, ice hockey as well. And I like English football, what we call football. This is an album about the FA Cup, the English Football Cup in 1970. The Chelsea's Cup, it's between Chelsea and Leeds United. There were two games. The first one ended in a draw, and the other one, the rematch, Chelsea won. And well, you can see that. On one side it's the first final, and on the other side it's the second side. It's the second final. It's quite interesting. It is well made. It's quite interesting to listen to. It's exciting, even though you know what it will end like. But the narrator or the commentator was very good, and it is of course the BBC radio recording, or match commentary highlights by arrangement with BBC Radio Enterprises. Okay, on with it. For those motor enthusiasts out there, Le Mans, the French motor race in 1966 on Decca, with Bruce McLaren, Graham Hill, Chris Amon, Carroll Shelby, and Voices of the Public on the blue stereo Decca label, so it's a stereo LP, and with the map and guide to the whole race. And it's a beautifully done album, and it's very interesting, even though I'm not that interested in motorsports. But I hesitated before I bought this because it was a bit expensive, but it was so rare that I felt, well, if anybody will buy that, it just better be me. Then I found this one. I haven't listened to this yet, but now let's leave the sports pages for a while. Go to politics. Gallant Men, Stories of the American Adventure, told by Senator Everett McKinley Dirksen. I am a bit familiar of who was Everett Dirksen. He was an American politician, and this is the American history on an LP recorded by Capitol on the Rainbow label. I haven't listened to this yet, but when I found it, it was so weird that I had to have it. Now another thing that this is a children's record, obviously. Remember the Alamo, the True Action Adventure Series label, with a map, a battle map, on the back side of the cover. I had forgotten about this record when I actually found it. When I found it when I was looking through my shelves. I really want to listen to this. I think it might be quite interesting. I'm interested in history. Jeff showed some stereo demonstration discs, and I have a couple of those too. This is one from the AF Audio Fidelity label, with different music taken from the Audio Fidelity catalog, like Dukes of Dixieland with Louis Armstrong and Lalo Schifrin and Joe Basile, so on. Okay, now over to a couple of very odd Swedish records on the short-lived label Spell, AB Berättaren, which means the narrator incorporated. So it's actually short stories read and recorded by Swedish actors. This is Vargen och Rödluvan, The Wolf and Little Red Riding Hood, by Anna-Karin Svedberg. It isn't a children's story. This is an adult story. Very much adult. Well, it's not that bad with the views on what we think is adult today, but it's not for children, so to speak. I don't think I need to say more. And the same is about this book. Olle Länsberg läser själv ett avsnitt ur Adamsson i paradiset. Actor Olle Länsberg reads a short extract from his book Adamsson in the Paradise, and that is also quite adult, so to speak. Well, now adult in a more mature and less devious way, I have found two albums called Wisdom, a blue one and red one. Wisdom Volume 1 and Volume 2 on American Records on Decca label, and I'm not at all sure when these were released, but I would guess that they are quite early, because you see this kind of label just screams out 1950s, so I guess they are from the 50s. Quite interesting people on these albums, people who were then considered very wise, like Frank Lloyd Wright, Bertrand Russell on this one, and Sean O'Casey, and here we got among others Carl Sandburg, United Nations leader Nehru, or no, sorry, he was the Indian leader, Nehru. Dr. Harlow Shapley, Jack Lipschitz. Maybe nothing you put on a party, but after all the guests have left. Okay, we got time for one last album, which is this. It's a HMV album, Sov Gott, Sleep Tight, with music by Åke Levén. It's a record that will help those of you who suffer from amnesia to sleep better. So I haven't listened to it and tried it to see whether it works or not. I really should do that, because it would be interesting. And this is like the others. I bought it because it's quite rare and I've never seen it before. So, well, now I showed some of my wacky records and odd records. Of course, I collect comedy records too, so I've got lots of wacky records there too, but these are more of the odd records in my collection. And I might show you some comedy records another time. Okay, bye bye.